What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 3. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the brand new RAM-9 SMG. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, and we actually have 5 different damage ranges with this gun, and it's generally going to be a 5 to 6 shot kill. However, in the minimum damage range, if you mix in too many leg shots, it can also take you 7 shots to kill. As for headshots, quite surprisingly, up close and personal, you only need to mix 1 headshot in with those torso or arm shots in order to get a 4-shot kill, which will give us a ridiculous time to kill that we'll look at in just a little bit. So headshots are quite good with this. Next, let's take a look at our rate of fire, which is quite fast at 923 rounds per minute. And what this means is with a 5-shot kill, our time to kill potential is 260 milliseconds, which is a very fast time to kill in this game. The only Modern Warfare 3 SMG that beats this is the WSP Swarm, and that has a very, very short range compared to this gun. As for a 6-shot kill, we're killing in 325 milliseconds, which as you start stretching out the range a little bit, that's still a very reasonable time to kill. And then, like I said earlier, if you mix just 1 headshot in with those torso shots, you can cut your time to kill potential down to 195 milliseconds, which is practically untouchable for a full auto gun. Next, let's get into our ranges, and the ranges on this gun are very impressive. We carry that 260 millisecond time to kill potential out to about 21 meters. And when you compare that to the other SMGs in the game, it's not even close. Like I said, the only SMG that kills faster than this is the WSP Swarm, and you can see it's just got that tiny little 5-shot kill range. This one carries that great time to kill potential quite far for an SMG. Additionally, our bullet velocity is pretty good for an SMG, at least at 500 meters per second. And now let's get into our hardcore ranges. As we can see here, we do have a 21 meter 1-shot kill potential, although in that second damage range, that shot has to hit the torso or arms. And that's also our cap on the 1-shot headshot potential, so anything beyond that will always be a 2-shot kill. So far, looking pretty good for the RAM-9. Now let's get into our Hipfire, which is the best out of the Modern Warfare 3 SMGs. Like, our standing Hipfire is just standard for SMGs, but our maximum Hipfire spread while moving, this is incredible at 5.2 degrees per second. And now let's get into Recoil, and this is where we finally start to see at least a bit of a downside with this gun. As you can see here, there's a bit of recoil here. It will zigzag a little bit, it does lean a little to the right, and then it cuts to the left. There's also some gaps between those bullets that you're firing. I wouldn't call this like an extremely inaccurate gun, but I also wouldn't call it a super accurate gun by any means, at least not by default. You can, of course, correct that with attachments. And then let's get into our handling stats, and our aim down sight time is really good at 200 milliseconds. Our sprint to fire time is a bit on the slower side for SMGs. This is another thing you have to be aware of with this gun. Your sprint out time is a bit slower at 178 milliseconds. And our reload add time is within the realm of average. It's a bit below average for an SMG at 1.57 seconds. It may not seem that bad, but we do burn through these magazines really quickly, so you will have to be reloading fairly often with this gun unless you use a larger magazine. But then finally, for the base stats of the RAM-9, let's have a look at our movement speeds. And our base movement speed is basically bang on average for SMGs. Our sprint movement speed is noticeably above average, so you can sprint around the map very effectively with this gun. And then our aim walking speed, again, is pretty much just average for an SMG at 3.3 meters per second. And there we go, those are the base stats of the RAM-9. Overall, definitely a very powerful gun with a lot of killing potential, but it does come with a couple notable downsides as well, like our sprint out time and our recoil. And with that, this is a great time to move into some excellent attachment combinations I've got for you guys. And I'm going to be honest right up front, with the RAM-9, it's a very good gun on its own just by default. And I find that attachments don't tend to make a massive difference with this gun. Sure, you can change a few stats here or there, but I actually found it a little difficult to find optimal setups with this, since you can design it so many different ways and it will perform just as good with most of the attachment combinations you use. So let's dive into the first one. This is my accuracy build, and with this, we're using the Lockshot KT85 muzzle, the FTAC SP10 angled grip, the 40 round magazine, because I do find I'm burning through those 32 round mags a little too quickly, and I like having even just a little bit of extra ammo. That makes a big difference for me. We've got the Retort 90 grip tape, and then finally the HVS 3.4 pad. And with this, you can see we very nicely improve our recoil, which is one of the notable downsides with this gun. Especially when you look at the side-by-side comparison, I'm firing 40 rounds rather than 32, and I've got a noticeably lower magnitude with 40 rounds than I did with 32. Now, in exchange for this, we are trading off some of our aim down sight speed. It's now 247 milliseconds, which is a little bit on the slower side for an SMG, but not completely unreasonable by any means. And our sprint out time is also very slightly harmed with this setup, but not even really to a noticeable degree. And there we go, that's the accuracy build. Honestly, it's a little bit boring. I know I didn't adjust the range or the bullet velocity at all, but it is just tricky to balance those stats with the given attachments that we have with the RAM-9. One notable thing here is you'll notice I'm using iron sights even on an accuracy build, and that's just because I really like the iron sights on the RAM-9 and I never really feel the need to use an optic here. As for the second build I'm going to share for you guys, this is my all-around stealth build that I really like using. And with this, we've got the Shadow Strike suppressor. We once again have that 40-round magazine. This comes with very few downsides, and that extra 8 rounds in the mag surprisingly really makes a difference, at least for me. We once again have that HVS 3.4 pad and the Retort 90 grip, same as the previous build, but this time we're also using the Recon comb. And with this one, you're not going to be nearly as accurate as the previous build. You definitely don't want to be stretching your ranges out way too far, but within the really effective range of this gun, which is 21 meters, this recoil is perfectly fine in my experience. Our aim down sight speed with this is effectively the same as the base at 202 milliseconds. That's excellent, that should never be a problem for you. And our sprint out time is actually improved a little bit, down to 157 milliseconds. Now, once again, we didn't touch our range or bullet velocity values at all. That's largely just because I don't like the barrel attachments on this gun. I just don't think they're balanced really well. But we do have a suppressor on here, so we will be off the radar when firing, and that allows us to flank really effectively with this setup. And there we go, that's my stealth build. I found a ton of success with this particular one. One little note I wanted to point out here, when I was talking about the barrels and how I don't really like how they're balanced with this gun, something you may notice is with the barrel that has an integrated suppressor in it, if you read the pros and cons, it says that it improves your bullet velocity and range as well as aim walking speed and sprint to fire speed at the cost of gun kick control. But when you look at the advanced stats, it actually hurts our ranges and our bullet velocity by a very noticeable margin. So I think this barrel would be a really good option if it did what the pros and cons stated that it would do, but since it doesn't appear to do that and it actually harms the gun when it comes to range and bullet velocity, this is why I stay far away from it. In either case, there's one last build I wanted to share for you guys with the RAM-9, and this is my Hipfire and tac stance build. You can't really ignore Hipfire on this gun since it has amazing Hipfire by default, and since the Season 2 update, tac stance is also way better now. So with this one, we're using the 1 milliwatt laser box, which is not a visible laser, but it helps very noticeably with Hipfire and tac stance. We've got the Bruin Bastion angled grip, the Motion tac pad stock, the Demo flat comb, and then finally, again, that 40-round magazine. Now with this particular one, we've got a ridiculously tight tac stance. It's very, very accurate in tac stance, and it's also really accurate in Hipfire. Whether you're moving or standing still, it's going to be quite accurate, and you never really need to fully aim down sight with this, which is great because our aim down sight speed is a little worse than the base at 221 milliseconds. Our sprint out time is unfortunately not amazing for an SMG, and that is something you just have to be aware of while using this build. It's not going to have that instant sprint out time that you would often expect with an SMG, but to me, for a build like this, that's totally worth it for how accurate you can be while hip firing and while in tac stance. And with that, that's going to wrap it up today's gun guide on the RAM-9. As for my thoughts on this gun, I really like it. I think it might be even a little too powerful by default. That time to kill potential extending out to 21 meters is pretty insane. If you can hit those upper torso shots, or torso shots actually, you don't even need to hit upper torso, you will find a lot of success with this gun, I find. Like I said, it's a bit weird with attachments. I do have a hard time making the gun much better by adding attachments on it, but that's okay since it's just so good by default. Now, of course, these are just my opinions on this gun, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the RAM-9 in those comments down below. Also, if you guys missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, including the brand new BP50, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.